go ahead and give the rules of this forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves and give them the opening remarks. The questions will be read by this person up here. It's not a debate. We're not going to go argue. We're going to keep it civil. The candidate will have 2 minutes to respond or less, whatever it is. If you think of a question during this time, you feel free to get up, go over and get a piece of paper. I just read it. Never mind. That was good. Anyway, feel free to get up, go write your question down, and turn it into this lady's back here. At the end, if we have time, and this goes very fast, I will ask any candidate that, person that attended, if they have a follow-on question that they asked, raise your hand. I'll recognize you, and you can ask whoever the candidate or all four the follow-on question. It still will not be a debate, so I will make sure that so they can clarify their answer if you need it. Then they will have 2 minutes for closing remarks. Candidates, are there any questions about the rules? Is there any question from the audience? I'll come take care of it. Anyway, again, thank you everybody for coming. I'll start over my right-hand side, and unfortunately, you're going to be the first in the chute, sir. Ooh, you may have to stand away from that speaker. And I'll give the mic to you. You have 1 minute.
Good evening. Thank you guys for coming out, and I'm glad I can be here. I'm Uriqidi. I've lived in Mountain Home, was born and raised here. My mom's sitting out in the audience. I know quite a few people out in the audience. I have been on the council before. I know that I've been here at the forums a few different times for this before. So I'm looking forward to representing you again, hopefully, and I'm asking for your vote. And again, thank you guys for being here tonight.
All right, I think this caution do not enter tape is an interesting statement about the caliber of candidates behind it. My name is Sawyer Crenshaw. I'm running for city council. There's a lot of reasons why, but the main one, I moved here about 4 years ago, but grew up visiting my grandma here all throughout my youth. My dad went to high school here. I grew up in Legacy Park Swam, the original pool. But I'm here because I learned the difference that a single person can make when they put effort into things. And I learned that working for the Mountain Home newspaper. So I attended well over 100 meetings, learned about the processes there, what it takes to run a city, as if it's easy to know. And I took away 3 main points, and that's that through collaboration, communication, and conservation of things that work in Mountain Home, we can make a great difference and continue to do the things that are working well. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to say one thing. Please silence your cell phones or turn them down so everybody can hear. I'd appreciate that.
Hello all, my name is Brendan McCarthy. I am running for City Council. You might remember me from the last election. I narrowly almost won during my candidacy, but I decided to keep staying involved because, again, I moved here, my wife grew up here, and we decided to raise our family, so I'm very much invested in the community when it comes to my volunteer work and everything, and then also any work that I've done with the city, especially on the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. So, which I feel is really what stands me out as a candidate, because I have experience coming to trying to bring to City Council when it comes to growth, infrastructure, and the challenges that you all and the rest of the residents that I've talked to and that have been bringing up in that. So I feel like that is something very unique, that I'm bringing some, we'll say, new experience, because I think it's one of those that we have seen time and time again. The kind of worn out slogans in that. And I don't think, again, talking to residents, we are afraid of that. So anyway, thank you so much.
Sir, you're up.
I don't think I'm going to need this. You guys can hear me in the back okay? Yeah. I'm Decker Sanders. Of course, like the rest of these fine gentlemen, I'm running for city council. A little bit about me. The Air Force moved my family out here in 1985. We built our first house in Tome in 1988. After spending 20 years on an Air Force career, I spent 15 years in state government, working at the department level in downtown with the legislature and the departments of health and welfare, in the office of the State Board of Education, the Board of Education, and later on as a contracts officer for the Department of Corrections. My entire life has been around providing service. In watching how this city council has operated in the last 4 years, I've seen times when they've not received the information they need to act in a timely manner. I've seen them make decisions that seem to go absolutely against what the citizenry was providing them for input. I think that needs to change. And I think we need to find out why it is we have a city budget of $113 million for a town of 17,000 people, when Twin Falls, a town of 97,000, has 103. Thank you.
All right, let's go to the first question. And who's it for?
Oh.
Use the mic so everybody can hear.
Oh. Is it on?
Yeah.
In regards to roads, the last forum, a asphalt reaper was mentioned to be purchased. If it was, how do you suppose to maintain it and pay for both the purchase and maintenance of it?
We'll start on this side this time.
So, great question. I believe the question's regarding the asphalt recycler machinery. I have firsthand knowledge about this because, again, on the DIFACT, or the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee, this became before our committee. It was talked about using impact fees to help pay for this. It was not purchased. The last budget meeting, it was actually turned down by City Council for various reasons, which I'd be more than happy to discuss. But having firsthand knowledge about this piece of machinery, that it sounds like a great thing, right? It sounds like we're going to be able to go through and do all these roads and everything like that. It's a car sales pitch. When you look at the machinery, it is not something that is widely bought or anything in the West, because we do roads differently here than back east where this piece of machinery is from. So again, we can try to look at this piece of machinery, but it's not going to fix the roads the way that it's being portrayed, because it's not addressing the issue of the infrastructure, the base of it. So again, it's one of those that we haven't purchased it. They were trying to use impact fees for it, which you can't. It's a piece of maintenance machinery in that. It's not regarded to growth, and it's something that we just need to look at better options. So, thank you.
I hope so. You can hang on to that.
Thank you.
Sitting in the city council meeting where this asphalt reaper came up, and sitting in the budget hearings this summer, I attended as a person of interest, watching the council go through its process. Some of the council members began to ask questions such as exactly what percentage of our streets would this device actually be able to be used on? Could it be used on the concrete roads? No, it can't. Can it be used on and the chip seal? Well, maybe. Is it something that could be used on? And the questions kept coming and the answers weren't. Right now, they wanted $250,000 a year for 10 years, about a $2.5 million purchase. What wound up happening was, eventually, for lack of being able to give better definition, it was not approved. As a city council person, my job is to come before the people of this city and be able to explain what it is we're going to buy, why we need to buy it, and how we're going to do it. At this point in time, they've not proved the case for the asphalt reaper. I believe they were correct to not have it go forward at this time. But if it were to come about again, and there was a way that it was going to be beneficial, and we could show by data that the benefit outweighed the cost, then we'd have to incorporate that into our budgets. We would have to find a way to do it, and it would have to prove itself here before we invest any further in it.
Thank you. One more thing, I am going to have to give you the mic because he's recording it without the mic. It's hard to hear.
All right.
All right, I'll try and stand far away from the speaker. I think this is really simple. I think we're making a pretty simple issue a little more complicated than we need to. The city has several tools across several departments. We have golf carts that we help maintain. We have fire engines that we need to keep up on so that they are functioning when we have emergencies. We have police vehicles that we need to keep functioning for when we have emergencies. This is no different. This is a piece of equipment that we can look at. It's something that could benefit us. While it might not work on every road, those are the questions that we need to ask. I don't know about you. I do not work on roads. I do not know roads as well as the members of our streets department, and I think that we need to consult with them. I think that we need to talk to the people who are doing the jobs instead of acting like we know how to do the jobs. I think it's very important that we listen to their feedback and that we take that into account when we're making these decisions, because $2.5 million over 10 years is a lot of money. But if it's going to benefit us, then it's worth looking into, and we can't write it off right away, especially where we're not experts in the subject. I think that's where we need to trust the good city employees that we have and talk to people who have experience working with this kind of machinery. Thank you.
As the past Public Works Director and working right with the street department, our street department is a maintenance crew. And they do a great job for what the tools that they have and what they can do. When we look at like some of the roads that we've worked on in the past, our guys get in there and do all the groundwork, and that's where the most important part is. They go in, clean things up, get the ground ready to be the asphalt to be put on, and then we have people that come in that know what they're doing to do that. I think that's what we need to keep doing and keep moving forward with that. When we've looked at that, I mean, some of the things that they said is exactly right. It doesn't work on concrete. You have to add a lot of oil to it if you're using the chip seal. I mean, we have a short window to be able to do things and to do it efficiently, cost effectively. And so those are things that we need to continue to look at. And again, we've done 18th Street, we've done 6th Street, we've done 3rd Street. We've worked with other companies, and our crews have done that to do that. I think we just need to continue doing that.
And now I'm going to ask my lovely wife, would you come up here and would you mind being the timer, please?
Oh.
She thought I was going to give the mic to her, and she's like, no, I got to go to sleep at night.
We're going to take up the donations for a new timer.
Next question.
This is to all candidates. What is your opinion of the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk? What is your stance on political violence?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start with you, sir.
No. No. No.
2 minutes, count it down. If you need your question asked.
Great, thank you. I'm going to say exactly what I said at the other forum. I want to be abundantly clear. There is no circumstance in which somebody should face violence or death for a view that they share in the United States. It's not American. It's un-American. We have freedom of speech for a reason. It's important that we use that. I think it's also very important that in our interactions with one another, we continue to remain curious and respectful of everyone, regardless of if they agree with us or not. I think that's very important, especially when we are talking about political forums and things like that. I think that it's our responsibility as people who aspire to be leaders in our community to set the example of what it means to be a leader. Thank you.
Can everybody hear the question and the answers? Okay, just want to make sure.
Very straightforward. There is no excuse for violence. If it ends in death, if it ends in harm to another, whether that's political or domestic, words can hurt just as badly when it comes to long-term injury to someone's mental state and how they view the world and how they interact with others. I do not condone violence, especially that which leads to death, in any form, whether it was political, whether it was passion motivated, or whether it was other. No one should die in this country for the words they've said. And we should be careful that we use those words because sometimes words do kill. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I think we can all echo that, the same thing, is that nobody should have an act of violence or death or anything when it comes to your political views, your thoughts, or anything like that. We need to be having open dialogue with that. I think we all stand up here and we'll repeat the same thing of we condone violence for anything that comes to other people's thoughts just because you don't agree with it. It's not right. We have to keep an open dialogue. That's why I believe so much in keeping that up and doing these town halls that I've been doing this election season and that I continue to make if I'm elected, because to me, it's that communication with you, the residents and citizens of Mountain Home and the city, that's going to keep us on the same page and having open dialogue. That is the important part, because once we stop having dialogue, terrible things happen, and we all can see that we don't want that. So, thank you.
I can keep that pretty short. Also, I totally agree with what everybody says. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a school or somebody's home or a big political rally, whatever. That should just not happen. It's sad that it does in our country, and we need to. Everybody said communication. I mean, I'm going to treat somebody how I want to be treated, and I think that's, you have to respect. You respect them whether you agree with them or not. You have to have respect. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is for everybody. There are many known efficiencies with our infrastructure, with our city's water. Example. Yeah. Yeah, really. We didn't get over for a reason.
There are many known emphasis with our city infrastructure, i.e. water, something, it's hard to read.
Go to the next one.
We'll come back to
Your
this one.
question answered, or question, yeah.
We'll come back to this one.
Fine. You have mentioned that there are something interested in the home? I don't know, if anybody can read foreign and wants to come up here and do better than I'm doing, please show up. This one's typed. I got this one. this one's to all candidates. Recently, Boise City Council voted to adopt the gay pride flag as the city's official flag, which generated some controversy. If faced with a similar vote in our city, would you have voted yes or no?
Okay. So I'll pass and also one thing while you're writing real quick. If any of the candidates want to go through the messages after you can go through the paperwork if you want to clarify them on your Facebook or wherever.
For me, this question appears to be really simple, but the bottom line for me is I'm going to vote based on what you tell me you want.
I think to that question, for me, it's one of those of I go back to the Idaho State Code and I look at, are we just putting up the state flag, the city flag, and are we trying to keep politics out of things and that? So that's how I look at it when it comes to political activity outside of the municipality. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about what a municipality is supposed to provide in that. That is my focus. The other things we can talk about and we can have that dialogue. So, thank you.
I agree. State code gives us what we can do as a municipality. If somebody wants to have it in their house or in their yard, I have no problem with that. So I mean, that's their choice. So, but when it comes to what can be put in the state or in a government building, we have to follow what we need to follow. Again, you'd ask for Oh, I guess you're last.
Yeah, I'm last this time. This came as a result of action taken by the legislature during the last legislative session. So really, it's a non-issue for the city of Mountain Home. We don't really have, to my knowledge, a city flag that exists unless it's just the white flag with our city logo on it. So I don't see it being an issue, but I would kind of echo what Uriqidi said in that we're tied by the legislature by what we do. I don't really think it would be an issue in the first place. But we do have to follow state code. That's our responsibility, and that's being a good steward of taxpayer dollars and listening to what the people of Mountain Home want. Thank you.
All right, let me try this one. It says to all, it's the same person that wrote it, so let's pray. The local newspaper often publicizes inaccurate and something information that I needed to be corrected as occasional. Do you believe that the elected officials and local newspaper have a duty to and or obligation to provide accurate information?
Great question. Thank you so much. Yes, I believe the city and the newspaper have a obligation to provide that information. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but on the die fact, that, as chairman, was my main objection of getting the data and everything out as much as possible to city council and that to make informed decisions. You know, I keep hearing that we're growing at 4 or 3%. Well, the data and the financial records do not show that. And so that, to me, is why we need to make sure that the city, working with the Mountain Home News as an outlet as that, is providing the accurate and correct information to you all so that we are not on having all this misinformation and everything and that we can be on the same page. So, thank you for that.
Correct information is important. I mean, that's what you guys as citizens see and read out in the community. So it is our job to make sure that the city puts out the correct information and gets it to where it needs to go factually. Now, we can't control how the paper puts it out, but if they made the mistake, they made the mistake. But it's the information that we give to all the different outlets. we have to make sure that that information is correct and to give you the best ability, the knowledge that we have, so you can see what's going on also.
Well, I'll start off by saying I think the paper was in its prime a couple years ago, but that's a little bit of bias there. But I think that the city and the paper both serve very unique roles. The city's role should be to provide purely factual information. It's the city's job to educate its members on what they would like the citizens to know. So when it comes to talking about something like conserving water and how the city is telling its citizens how important it is that we conserve water, it should be the responsibility of the city to provide materials and facts and education on what steps people can take to conserve water. I think that that's a big role that the city should be playing. As far as the newspaper goes, things get put in the paper wrong from time to time. When I was there, I actually met my partner of 3 years by writing that the library was bummed to have her hired on as a staff member. It's a fun story I can tell you about later. But I think it's very important the role the press plays in giving us the deeper story on some of the actions taken by our local government. That way we know that when the DIFAC committee tries to spend impact fees on private roads or county roads, we know that that's what's taking place instead of being used within the city. Thank you.
I'm sorry, one rule is if another candidate mentions another candidate, that candidate has 1 minute to rebut or say whatever they want to clarify, and that's it.
So I would like to point out something and state the obvious fact on this. It was said that if the DIFAC spends money on a road or anything like that, on a county road and everything, that is a complete false narrative. It's the city council that decides how the impact fees are spent, and they have to be spent on projects that are listed in the capital improvement plan. It can't be some just county road outside the city limits or anything like that. So it's not this willy-nilly thing. It's not a DIFAC did this and everything like that. So I would like to set the record straight on that. So thank you.
All right, 15.
15 seconds.
All right. All this is public information thanks to the great coverage we do get. And those roads were Autumn Road is the private road, Smith Road is the county road. And as far as the capital improvement plan goes, that same committee ignored the Elmore County capital improvement plan when they were looking at funding for new prisons, or an expansion of the county prison facility, 15 seconds is short, as well as for ambulance and other services. Thank you.
Next question to all candidates. What is the current knowledge of the URA and how it works? Do you support the projects being committed or completed downtown?
I was on the council when we put the urban renewal district together. It was when Marathon Cheese came in that we had the option to do an urban renewal district. It's to take care of slum and blight, and we were able to put together the area of that. So their taxes actually go into that and don't go into the city roll until 2027. It's almost done. I think 27 or 29. It's right in that area. So the urban renewal is almost done. So we've used their funds to do the downtown project. We've used their funds. The Railroad Park is what they're going to do. We've done a lot of sidewalks around town. So we've been using the urban renewal money to do projects that are in their district, and the city partnered with on some of them, so it doesn't have to use all of our city funds to do those, and that's how the urban renewal district kind of works.
Okay, sorry, I missed the question. I was trying to make sure Decker got to answer the last one because I think we skipped it. But,
What was
So-
the question?
Oh,
Again?
yeah, please.
What is your current knowledge of the URA and how it works? Do you support the projects being completed downtown?
Okay, awesome. I love that question. I used to go to the fire station and sit in on the URA meetings when I was back at the paper. And what I will say is that we had a really good crew on that committee. I appreciate the work that they were doing. One thing that I think that the renovations downtown have been really nice. I think that that's a benefit to everyone. And I think that the ideas with Railroad Park are very creative. One thing I'd like to see in the future, and again, the URA is sunsetting soon, so there's not much of a future, but I'd like to see the spirit of that money going towards projects that benefit everyone in Mountain Home and around the area, and anyone who lives in the URA district continue. I think one thing that was done really well, one thing that is really nice is all these developments that have been taken on through URA funding have ensured that we have accessibility for folks downtown. I think that's really important when it comes to these new projects for reasonable parking down there. We all know it's really hard to see around the corner on some of those roads, but making sure that we have handicap access to some of those buildings down there and handicap parking for folks who need to be closer to the entrances of the buildings. Thank you.
Switching up the order a little here. So, yes, the URA, I think we can all agree about that. That's basically the district downtown that the businesses matter paying into for these projects that we've seen, the downtown project. If you had caught the city council last night, they were talking about Railroad Park and everything and all these advancements that they're trying to put, which a lot of this funding is coming from Marathon Cheese and not from the taxes that they're collecting, part of that on that. So it is getting ready to sunset. We have these ideas that are being presented and everything for Railroad Park based on the URA, and they're now trying to work with the city, which it became a very discussion about in-kind work and everything like that, how we can partner to make that work together. So yeah, that's a little bit about that.
First, as to the previous question, yes, I wish the newspaper would report things accurately. They got my name wrong once. But when I told them about it, they were quick to put in a correction. And government absolutely needs to be telling the truth the first time. And when situations change, they have an obligation to tell you what's changed. Now, as to whether or not I support the URA and the projects downtown, let me just say this. If you go back and look at the mayor's State of the City address in 2022, where he describes all the wonderful things done in 2021, including the start of the downtown project, you'll find that the city of Mountain Home provided a fair, I would say probably almost a quarter, if not more, of the work that was done in the downtown improvement. It was not all done by a contractor. And last night, the city council meeting, as my colleague has already expressed, there were 61 items brought up that were in kind from the city, all listed at zero value. I know some of the employees in this town. They're getting paid, and they are worth more than what we're paying them. Their time has a value. The material that is being put toward that Railroad Park project by the city has a value. You have a right to know what the total project cost is of that operation. And as of today, we don't have it.
This is for everybody. What did you learn from the last night's city council meeting about Keller and Associates and the wastewater plan?
Well, I hate to admit it, but I missed last night's meeting because I had a meeting with the Fraternal Order of Police, and I was one of two candidates that made that meeting that we were all scheduled to attend. So I was busy with the police last night, but I look forward to rewatching the meeting very shortly. Thank you.
Yes, I was the other one that was at that meeting, so, yeah, I mean, I know, I've worked with Keller, so I haven't seen what they were gonna present, so I have to see what's going on, but, that's, yeah, should look at this morning.
So, great question. The wastewater, when it comes to Keller, this is something that the DIFAC was looking. If you attend that, some of the candidates would attend our meetings, they would realize that we were diving into the financials last night we talked about how we have spent $175,000 in design work for lagoon cell number 10, and now we're looking at mechanical treatment plants, spending $48,000 with that, and so it's a constant. We're just spending money on all these designs, but nothing's coming out of fruition. So it's one of those that, again, I didn't get up in May or September of this year and just say I'm going to run for election. I've been going to city council meetings for 4 years now and going to P&Z meetings and staying on top of these challenges that we're facing and the deficiencies that you and all of us are aware of. So those are some of the highlights of city council last night regarding wastewater and Keller. Thank you.
Well, if you hadn't surmised it by now, I was the other guy who was at the city council meeting. And much of what you just heard, I heard as well. But what I learned about Keller is they are pretty much like some of the folks in public administration. You ask them the question and the response comes back, it all depends. Some of the things that were in the task order that I read, the actual task order they were considering, didn't have enough specificity for me. The one thing they were asked to do was to come up with the initial phase concepts for a 1 million gallon mechanical treatment facility. There was no information about what quality of output they wanted in that factory, and depending upon how you set that up, that can change your cost substantially. There was also some talk about having to do tests for rapid infiltration, and while this was part of the technical information they were providing to council, what they were basically there to do was to get a contract to begin some very base level work. Part of that contract included, if the city changed the parameters, there could be an increase in the cost in the contract. When you don't give them the information they need to produce a good report the first time around, get ready to reach in your pocket and shell out more money later. Planning starts at the beginning with knowing what it is you're after. Thank you.
This one's for everybody as well. South 10th East is one of the busiest streets in town. My driveway floods every time it rains heavily or snows melts. I was told after 2017 that there was FEMA funds to fix this. Still, it is not done. Not sure. South 10th East is one of the busiest streets in town. My driveway floods every time it rains heavily or snow melts. I was told after 2017 that there was FEMA funds to fix this. Still, it is not done.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on FEMA funds. So as for that project, that was a little bit before my time, so I'm not going to sit here and, go off and try and fill some answer on that. But it's one of those, we need to be looking at the infrastructure. I know there's a lot of issues where people are talking about their roads and everything and gutters flooding and that because of the streets that we have, missing on the curbs and everything on the gutters and that. But as to regards to FEMA funds and everything, I can't specifically talk or address to that, so thank you.
Well, I have to admit, there's not a lot of things that were before my time because I am a creature of the last century. But I'm not aware of the FEMA funds for that type of project. I don't have any information. If you'd like to share yours with me, I'll do some research and see what I can find out about it. I do know that we have ongoing issues with streets. You can go back and read from the city's website the 2020 Comprehensive Improvement Plan, the one for the entire city, and you'll find in there that roads continued back then in 2020 was mentioned as one of the things that needed improvement. We're 5 years later down the road, and ask yourself how much of that we've seen.
Yeah, I think this is really frustrating. That's something that's frustrating for a lot of people in Mountain Home. When you drive around town on a day like today, where we've had a lot of rain, you find a lot of areas that are flooded with water, and I mean flooded. I've seen a couple trash cans floating in some of these puddles out front of people's doors. This is something that, as stated, we have a capital improvement plan to look at. We also have a master transportation plan. And I think these are relevant because when we look at the impact that sitting water has, it affects a little bit of everything. In the winter, if that water freezes, it can expand and that can damage the streets further. When we talk about water and wastewater, I did a tour with our public works director and went out to the sewer ponds that they were mentioning in the last question. And he even talked to me about the impact that different manhole covers have had on the levels within the pond. So this really does impact everything. About 2 years ago, I was at a master transportation plan. There was kind of a little workshop type thing. We had some folks come out from across the country to literally walk through downtown and some of our more problematic streets and talk about the worst problem areas. So I think the way that we tackle this is just starting with our capital improvement plan, starting with our master transportation plan, look at those most important areas, and just be able to listen. Whether that's setting up a text line to take complaints about specific streets or specific areas, but that's part of that communication that I mentioned in my opening, is we need to have an open line of communication between the citizens and the city, and I think this is an important step in that. Thank you.
I think with this question is kind of comes from what Snowmageddon we had in 17. We took pictures. Well, that was actually my first year as a public works director. And when we looked at pictures, when we're talking about the FEMA grants, so you can get a FEMA grant for flooding, and so that's one of the areas that was an area of concern. So as water runs down 10th, it all collects because everything starts at this end of town and it runs all the way down through. And there's different collection points throughout town. And so one that we don't really have is something, it goes into the ditches and kind of keeps going out towards the railroad track. So that's what we have with that one. So it is in our plans to get that in there. We just have to make sure that we can qualify for the grants, and those are where we kind of are. So we have to look at the master transportation plan that we have. You can see at the end of 10th, when you start to turn to go to the dog parks, where we've covered the ditch right there and we have stormwater underneath that. That's the plan to keep moving that forward, so that whole ditch that goes down 10th is covered, and then we need to have the infrastructure to start dropping the storm drains higher, farther up 10th Street, to starting at Jackson actually, because Jackson's a really big place. So all of that, that's where that plan comes from. And I know I get this question from all the time with who asked it. So it's in the plans, and again, it's money and where we have to be able to fiscally and be responsible to put it where it needs to go, and that is one spot we really do need to look at.
Next question for all candidates. Would you support a forensic audit of Mountain Home? If not, why not?
Every year the city goes through a third-party audit. That audit is published, any finding in it is published. That audit is done at the highest levels of budgeting. It doesn't go down and tell you whether or not the bills actually match where it went through. That's the kind of operation city council people would have to do to look to see that it matches up. And in fact, last night we had a situation come up where further investigation was needed, where it appeared that a bill had been posted in 3 different billing locations and were up for payment. I would believe that yes, if the price was reasonable, and again, depending upon its price, I would support a one-time forensic audit to take a look to make sure we are reporting things appropriately, the bills are being paid from the right location, the bids for projects are not being split up, or that there is an actual accounting for all the in-kind the city has been putting in and where that money winds up falling back to. So, as a quick example, during the LID number 1, there were workers from Streets and Maintenance that were used to help run the 11 miles of fiber optic that was the base of the fiber optic system in Mountain Home. Those employees were paid by the department. The billing for those hours were put against the grant that ran the LID progress, and then the grant paid the department back. Well, net zero cost to the department, but there were still well over 150 man-hours that over the course of putting it in came from somewhere. Now, I know a lot of the folks that work in Mountain Home that are part of our city government are hard-working folks, but really, you're going to tell me that in your budget where you have planned for work for an entire year for full-time employees, you had 120 extra hours that you could donate to another project, and there not be a cost that comes back to us in some form? I doubt it.
Decker was right. We do have a third party that comes in and does our audit every year. It is at a higher level, so the smaller things they do. Make sure though that how money is accounted for is correct. Those are some different things that, like when it comes to like even moving money from the pool, they count it as the pool, it goes to City Hall or the golf course or wherever. So there were some deficiencies in some of those that was caught, and they fixed those different things that they have. So again, it comes down to cost of, I mean, a forensic is, that's going through a lot of different things. So I mean, if it's something that the council would agree upon to do, I have to look at how the cost and if it's supportive. But I know I've worked at City Hall with those people, and I don't think anybody's trying to cheat anybody. They're not crooks down there, and they're doing a job for everybody because they live here and they want our community to be positive also. So thank you.
Yeah, I think there's no such thing as too much transparency, right? We do go through audits every year, which is a great thing, and I think that a forensic audit is much more in depth and there is a cost associated with it. So we can get creative that way and do maybe a forensic audit every 5 years, something like that. It is very important that we know where the money's going, and it gets really complicated when we're taking money in from grants. For example, a lot of the funding that came for the pool came from a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which is administered by the State Parks Department. So these bills, these items get really complicated, so I think it's definitely a good thing to have an audit. I think it's a responsible thing to do. What I would really like to see is an increase in the communication with the citizens, because there's a lot of financial speak that gets thrown around when we talk about audits and the budget that we're working with because of all these grants and things that we accept. So what I would like to see is even just using local existing resources. We have people who are very financially literate in this area. I'd love to reach out with them and have the onus be on the city to put together maybe a workshop every year for the existing audit, where we invite members of the public to come in and hear a little bit more about what was found in the audit. If there were things funky with it, that they would have an opportunity to hear about that as well. And even a comment period, I think, would be very positive. I think that's a responsible thing to do as a city government. Thank you.
Yes, and I think, again, everyone's going to agree that we should have somewhat of an audit to a degree because, again, the reports that we get at the end of the year are very 30,000-foot view, what money we have coming in, what money was spent out. I've been able to see these deficiencies where we pointed out things that just don't make financial sense. And, to me, it's one of those that we really need to look into it because, again, it's transparency, but it's also responsibility, and it's being respectful of your money. Because again, when I'm going around talking to neighbors, talking to residents, and they say, oh, we're raising my water bill, we're raising my wastewater bill, those are the things that we need to make sure that you all know because we're being transparent of how we're spending your money. You're going to hear a lot tonight about, oh, we're going to get this grant, we're going to do this grant. And when I'm going through and seeing the city budget and the projects that we're trying to do, we rely on grants a lot. And to me, that's not a financial model that is sustainable. I mean, we just saw wastewater. We went out for a grant twice on it, and we were denied twice. These are the things that we really need to start diving into the money because, again, it's going to come back. And we're going to have to say, hey, how was the money spent if you're asking to raise my rates on water or anything like that? So, yes, simply I'm for the audit and having that support with other city council members. So, thank you.
next one I'm not sure is a question. Why trashy mountain home front yards with junk cars, auto parts, lumber, yards full of weeds, and food trucks?
That is a statement, so I'll give this question to the candidates, all of you. What is your plan to go around and hold people accountable for the cleanup of their front yards and the area trash?
Amen.
What?
I said amen.
Well, we do have a code enforcement office that does take care of those things as much as they can. They'll send out, they'll go and knock on the door a couple times, send certified letters to make sure it's getting done. If something isn't getting done, the city does it, and then they get lien on their property. I mean, it's kind of said, it is private property. I mean, it's people's places. So one person's trash is another person's treasure. I mean, that's one thing, but you have to respect other people around you. I think that's the one thing, you have to respect your neighbors. So I think it really comes down to some of your neighbors too. They really need to step up and help with that also too. But I think that we do have code enforcement rules to follow, and we need to make sure that we're following those and pushing those as far as we can. I guess I'm just used to handling it. I'm trying to make sure we move questions around a little bit.
That's good. I think that the first thing I'd like to say is that a lot of this is out of our control because of private property rights, and in my opinion, that's the way it should be. We are a local government. It's not our job to go in people's yards and tell them what they shouldn't have there. Where the line is drawn is when it becomes a public safety issue. If we have dangerous items in people's front yards, if we have a pile of tires, for example, when that lights up, that can be really dangerous if that were to catch fire. So I think that a big part of what we can do, instead of showing up on someone's front doorstep, we don't know their story, we don't know if they're even physically able to get out and clean up the mess in their yard that they may not like either. I think that the job of the city council and the city staff should be to meet with people, to educate people, to provide resources, and to encourage neighbors and neighborhoods to get together and seek out conversations with those folks who may have a dirtier yard, see if they just need help. A lot of the time, a simple conversation can go a long way, and it's a much more goodwill than showing up on somebody's front doorstep with a citation. So, thank you.
Ditto.
Well, I don't think I can say ditto times two, but yes, I think it's an approach that we can go. You know, city council and planning and zoning get reports every month of the code enforcement and what they're going out and seeing and everything like that. So I think that's where we can start pulling data to see what's going on so that we can have these communications with homeowners and everything, because that is where we're going at. We don't want to come around and policing and everything like that. We want to have these effective, conversations and that to get there and see what we can do to kind of help get it. Because we are a community, right? This isn't something of us versus them, the city versus this. It's just, let's have the conversation, let's build a community so that we can have effective law enforcement. Thank you.
What is your stand on the current urban renewal projects and their progress? What experience do you have in these types of programs, and what experience are you able to bring to the program that would benefit our town and our citizens?
Well, I think we kind of hit that one a little bit with. I think we kind of hit that one with the park and what's going on with those. So, I mean, I guess I kind of already answered that. So
That's it. We've hit it, but I want to give you all a shot at it. If you want to add.
Sure, yeah, I'll just say, going to those meetings for the better part of 2 years, I was impressed with what the committee could do. I think the part of the question as far as what we could bring to the table is a little bit of a dicey one, because they are an independent committee. I mean, it's not really the place of a city councilor to be bossing them around. There are people who are selected to do this job, and they're a very qualified group of individuals with great building experience and things like that. So I think that's one where we kind of trust the people that are in there and check in with them, see what resources we can provide, what help they might need, and go from there. Thank you.
things I'd like to bring into those projects is part of my experience working with grants and contracts, both at the Department of Correction and my experience in the Office of the State Board of Education running multi-year, multi-million-dollar grants. In those grants, things like the in-kind, not just what you put down on paper, but what you can prove under Government Accounting Office standards, GAO standards for in-kind match. Program effectiveness. Are we getting what we're paying for? How do we evaluate that? Do we get the product? Are we following the goals? Did we even set goals about what's going to be a completed project? Those are the kinds of experiences, that's the kind of training I had when I earned my master's degree in public administration. That's the experience I've had working at the department level in the state of Idaho government. And that's the experience I'd love to bring to partner with programs that bring us the kinds of upgrades we've seen in our city. Thank you.
So my experience, again, I think it's one of those that, when I'm talking to residents and that, they're talking about the URA, something that I've really kind of heard about is, what about the safety? We're right in between a railroad and a state highway and that. Are we looking into, is the URA looking at the crosswalks and everything, or pedestrian protection system and that? And those are things that I have been working on that when it comes to other projects for the city and that. And so, to me, the experience that I'm bringing that is coming into saying, hey, can we collaborate? We need ITD to be into this, and making sure that we have that, safety piece of it. And then also, are we looking into the budget? Again, like last night with City Council, how is the city going to be doing in-kind and everything? That comes back to the budget experience, which is something I have. And so I think all those experience wrapped up in that and trying to work with the URA and that can really be helpful when it comes to the railroad project and that. So, thank you.
Worried about getting a cookie. What is your vision or goal to improve the city?
I think, like, even as a parent, I want to leave the city in better shape after 4 years serving as your council person is when I found it. Part of the challenge with that is being able to know exactly where we are right now. Where do we stand? What is the most critical area? Where's the data that supports where we should be moving forward? So my goal is to find out with certainty where we are now, encourage my fellow council members to rally around a plan that addresses the key issues we face, and then together put together the program and find the funding for that plan to move us all forward. Thank you.
It's definitely hard to name just one, so I'll name a couple, and then kind of the process for how we get there. I think that I see a mountain home where every person who lives here has the same opportunities, regardless of age or income, to have the exact same opportunities as somebody who lives 35 miles off the road in Boise. They should be just as safe as they would be in Boise. They should have just as many options for going to have food at a restaurant or see a movie in a theater. I know those are kind of the fun things we talk about, but I see that for Mountain Home. I see making Mountain Home a place where young people like me want to stay and where older folks can afford to stay. And I think that no matter what issues we face, there are many, and we've talked about just a few of them tonight. We have a lot of things ahead of us with wastewater management. We're growing. Our water's limited. We can get through these, but we have to communicate with each other, and we have to communicate as a city with the people who live in the city, because that's how we get the feedback. We can't make educated decisions if we're not talking to the people who live in the city. So that's part of the communication aspect of my 3 C's, the communication, conservation, and all that. So communication is the #1 step to getting to where we need to be on all issues, and that's communication between city staff and the council, city council and the mayor's office, and the city government and the people who live in the city. Thank you.
I think one of my goals, and I think first ran for city council, way back when, I didn't have a lot of experience. I mean, I had some experience because I was on Parks and Rec Board. I knew how cities kind of worked. I moved with that. First mayor we ran that I was with, Mayor Jett, we did a strategic plan. We went through different things with that. Mayor Rist, we did another strategic plan. And then I think we've done one other strategic plan when I was on the council from then too. And I think that's one thing I want to look at. We certainly hit a lot of those different things in that strategic plan to make the city what everybody, that was public input from everybody. So I want to make sure that, see where we are on our current strategic plan, how many things we've checked off from there, and to continue to check off more of those boxes, because that's something that it was community input that helped put those things together. And that's where I wanted to make sure that we're following along with what the committee was asking. So that's what I want to do with when you elect me to this for this next 4 years.
Great question. The thing I think that I would say that I'd like to do is continue the work that I've been trying to do. You're going to hear a lot during this election. I know you've already heard it. We want to make our community safe. We want to bring industry. We want opportunity. All those things. But again, I come back to: are they just worn out slogans? Have you heard this time and time over again? And we see what happened. Where was the planning? How was the follow through? All these things. And to me, it's what we're going to do to bring that. And part of my plan comes back to what a municipality is supposed to provide, and it comes back to the infrastructure. Because when you look at infrastructure and you look at investments and everything, that's what they're looking for. When industry is trying to come to Mountain Home, and I've seen it time and time again, they're not coming here not because of a city pool or a park or things like that. They're coming here because they say, hey, what are you guys doing for your roads? What are you doing for wastewater? All these things. And those are the things that I've been looking into and devising a plan, if I was elected as a city councilman, to share with my fellow council members so that we can push through and get these industry and that to come here, because that's what's going to bring positive change here in the community of that, and bringing the experts and everything into this so that we can make those changes. So, thank you.
Next question is for everybody. How do you feel about fixing the roads, all the roads?
All right, it's hard to tell if it's on or not. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but we do have a comprehensive plan, and we have a master transportation plan, and I think that those are good resources to have. A lot of work was put into those. I was on the advisory committee for the Elmore County comprehensive plan, and that one is a beast. So I know that the cities is as well. The time that goes into these is really immense, and they speak with stakeholders. They also speak with members of the community. I was the youth advisory committee member for the Elmore County one, so I've seen firsthand the amount of work that goes into these. I think that we need to follow those and budget wisely, and we do need to get creative, and that doesn't necessarily mean that an asphalt paver is the way forward, but I think that if we're not asking questions about different ways that we can go about making these fixes to our roads, we're not doing it right. There's always a million ways to skin a cat, right? So we need to look at our options, be willing to be open-minded and creative, and follow those plans that have been assembled by people who care about and live in our community. Thank you.
Close to important each other, your point of view.
The sheriff is going like this. I don't know.
Go ahead, go.
I'll have no problem jumping up
back
on
and
this.
forth right here. Let's come back and forth. Let's change it up a little bit.
Again, please, this is going to be a long-term process. This is not going to be some easy fix. It's not going to be, we're going to get all these streets fixed in a year or two or everything. It comes back to the planning. This is going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time to fix this, because as you residents know, this is something that has been a long-standing issue, and you can see it with the potholes and everything like that. So again, it comes back to what work have us as candidates been doing. And I've been having the discussion with ITD. I've been having discussion with the experts of that outside just our city experts when it comes to the infrastructure. The asphalt recycler, it It took me an afternoon and 3 phone calls with experts who know asphalt and the infrastructure and that to realize that it's not going to work. Instead, you had elected officials in that who took a trip to Ohio on taxpayer dollars for a machine that's not going to work. And to me, that's not being good stewards of the tax dollars. So let's stop with the slogans and these far out, kind of big, huge, grand ideas and come down to reality and realize it's going to take time. We need solid planning and stop wasting crack sealing, fog coating, and all this just because you have a fiber project, you want to make it look good, or a new city pool and that. So let's have an honest conversation for real planning to get these projects to come to fruition. Thank you.
I'll go next. So one thing with that, roads are always one of the top priorities that come out in any survey that we do with the city. As Public Works Director, one thing that I looked at to make sure that it was efficient, because we've been all talk about infrastructure, and we have water. We have to make sure that if we're going to rip up a road, we got to make sure that we're going to take care of all the infrastructure at the same time. And I mean, it takes a little bit of time. We got to make sure that the pipes going to each resident are up to code and what we're going to do. We can get rid of the lead pipes and put in the plastic pipes, and we do that. We make sure that the sewer lines and all the different things. So when I was looking at the different plans to put together, you can use, we can commingle, okay, which is, he's a little iffy on the commingling, but we could look at using our enterprise funds and our general funds to make sure that it's taken care of. So half of the road, or if we're going to do something that has a water pipe, half of the road can be fixed because we had to do it because of the water pipe. Same thing with the sewer. And then general funds can take care of sidewalks and doing some of the different things with those that you have to do something. So if you just completely do a whole new road, that you have to make sure it comes up to ADA, and so there's just a lot more little things that have to happen. So it takes some time. It's expensive. So you can see we've done 3rd Street, we've done 10th Street in front of the school, we've done 6th Street, we've done 8th Street, we've done the downtown. We commingle a lot of different funds from grants and from URA and from. We've been pretty efficient with our money, I feel, to get those things done, and we need to keep doing those things. So, thank you.
Sounds like throw another curve into it all.
Yeah.
Do I think the roads need to be fixed?
Yeah.
That's the no-brainer answer for that. But part of the devil's in the details. As you may come to learn, there is a very short season, almost like hunting season, when it comes to being able to lay down asphalt and get it to last. So planning around that season is one of the most difficult and yet detailed processes that have to be undertaken. One of the things contractors charge you when they bring their equipment here is called a mobility fee or a MOB fee. That can be as much as 1/3 of the total cost of the project. Would not be more efficient to have your projects laid out in such a way that they only have to pay that once because you're ready when they come out to lay the asphalt, lay all the asphalt you're planned? And by the way, the good news is for this year, the city council, rather than spending the $250,000 on the lease for the asphalt river, added it back to the $500,000 they've set aside for street repair this year. Some of us might expect 50% more road improvement this year if they plan appropriately and keep track of what they're doing.
Thank you.
Next question is, I guess it's not even really a question, but why can't we put on a cover over our pool?
Start with you.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very niche question. I like it. See, this is one of those things I don't know right off the top of my head. I imagine it's in city code if you're not permitted to do so. But this is a great example of what I'm talking about here. Not just a slogan, but this is the communication aspect. So, as a city councilor and as a member of the city staff, an elected member, it's important to remain open to communication. So this is one of those issues I don't know, and I'm happy to admit that, but I'm happy to say that I would be glad to look into that and figure out why that is. And if we figure out that this is something that we can fix, or something that's irrational or shouldn't be in place, then that's something that I'm happy to look into for you and work for you. Just goes to show that we need a better method of communication for city council and members of the community so that we can have direct line of contact and get to the bottom of some of these things. Thank you.
Another great question. I think it's one of those of, go back to the planning. Did we even talk about this before when we started with the pool and that? Because those are the things that, you know, when you look at other municipalities, Cascade is a great example. They did their pool and they have a full cover. They're year-round and everything, where they planned for that. And so that's where it comes back to, okay, what was the plan? What were we budgeting? You know, I had a resident ask me, they said, why can't we put sunshades? And I said, hey, that might be a great idea. And they were frustrated because the answer they got from the city was, well, we have to see if we can get a grant about it. And again, it comes back to how much are we going to rely on grants versus let's plan, budget it out, and make sure that we're sticking with that instead of going just back and forth, and then hopefully we can maybe get it. I think those are the things that we really need to be discussing. So, thank you.
I think one thing with the covered pool or cover on it was, again, it came down to planning. It comes down to the cost. What the city wanted to provide for people. I think one reason is, I mean, knock on wood, we're going to have a covered pool sometime, and but that's, you know, that's where we are. So I think it just came down to what we just wanted to replace what we had. I think that's the one thing to make sure that people had, that the kids had something to do in the summertime. We are I feel that Mountain Home is a four-season community. I mean, I like to swim, but wintertime I'm going to do wintertime things. I'm probably not going to get in the pool. So those are different things. I know it's good exercise to do some of those things, but I think that I know there's a lot of people I've talked to, that's kind of how they feel too. So thank you.
As a counselor, I never liked questions that started with why, because they always invited the person responding to kind of beat themselves up a little bit. So I'm going to take the liberty of rephrasing the question and ask, what kept us from having a cover on the pool? Was it Idaho code? Not likely. Was it planning? Maybe. But it also can be something else I've seen come over time and time again, and that is, we find a resource, we find some dollars, and the rush becomes, what can we do with that money? We start planning a resource. And what we should be doing is resourcing a plan, determining what it is we want, what we need, how we're going to get it, and then finding the resources to make that become the reality, rather than second guessing what we could have had we done it right the first time.
This is for Decker Sanders. In the last forum of perception was given that if elected, you would be focused predominantly on budgetary items, which appeared to be focused on a specific elected body and seemed a bit like a vendetta. I would like to know if you are here to represent the community or the safety of your own personal agenda.
I only get 2 minutes for this? Okay.
Virtually every good investigator will tell you if you want to find out the motive behind something, follow the money. When I looked at the golf course budget for this year, I found a listing, an account number, description, grants, miscellaneous, amount, $500,000. I sent a public records request to the city asking for the documentation that led to adding that line item to the budget. I got an official response back, no such document exists. I said, you know, maybe I asked the wrong question. Let me ask again. I want any letter, memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement, cooperative plan, or proposals for the same, supporting this line item in the budget. Well, it took them 3 hours to respond back. No such document exists. Am I a little bit on the budget? Yeah, you get what you pay for, and sometimes not.
What are your feelings on, everybody, because it doesn't say. What are your feelings on the current U.S. president?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow that question.
Good job.
That's not for this.
This is for all. Will you try to control city spending to small increases? I'm almost positive that's what it says. Yep. More welcome to reread it. Small increases. Oh my God, he's got to get his cheeses out of his shoes.
Yeah, will you try to control city spending to small increases? Okay.
Sure, I think maybe what they're talking about, I know that during my time in the legislature, we have budget increases and we have budget decreases, and a lot of the talk that gets thrown around there in the State House is the percentage of increase or decrease. Budgets will fluctuate, always, obviously. You and I are no strangers to the fact that prices have gone up in the grocery store the last few years. The same is true for materials that are needed for streets. Same is true for materials that were needed for the pool. Same is true for the vehicles that we purchase as a city. So I think that what I would say as far as an increase goes, when a budget needs to be increased, we obviously need to communicate that to members of the public. And if I sound like I'm beating the same drum, there's a reason why. It's very important that we communicate those increases. I think the other thing is that we aren't taking increases that we don't need to make. Yes, materials go up. Yes, vehicle costs go up. Yes, things like that will happen. That is inevitable. But we don't need to do extra. What I will say is if we are seeing increases, if we are going to have an increase in our city budget, I would like to see it go to staff. We have incredibly talented individuals working for the city of Mountain Home. We have incredible people in every single department. So if there's going to be a large increase, I'd like to see it in the staff. But I'd like to see no large increase, and definitely no increase that isn't communicated first to the members of the city. Thank you.
I think, if I might speak candidly, I think we're all going to say the same thing. We're all for small increases and that. But for me, it's a twofold, because you can make the promise of having small increases, but how are you going to make sure that is the case? I've seen it time and time again in council meetings with PNC and everything, how all of a sudden we went from a cell lagoon number 10 that was $8 million, but now we're going to $12 million. Where's the oversight on these projects? Instead of relying on, third parties and everything, we don't have a procurement process. We don't have a checks and balance to say, hey, is this the true cost of the project, or is this a sticker price and you're just trying to push it onto the taxpayers? So to me, it's yes, I am all for small increases if they are needed, but having also that oversight to go, is this even a true increase that's needed because of the cost of the project, or is this just something that's coming up because you're trying to make your bank off of the taxpayer? So, thank you.
Small increases are always nice, or no increase is always better, I guess. But, it does, the one thing is, if anything that's over 5%, has to go to a public hearing. So the citizens have to know why it's going over that price. The last few, when we look at, like, for example, I use water and wastewater utility fees. So when we look at all of the infrastructure things we've done, we have a new water tank that was put in. We got a new well that was put in. We have, did some different things in the ground also. So to be able to make sure that we can pay those loans, because those a couple of them were loans. So we have to make sure that we have that small increase to be able to keep that going. So those are things that have to happen to be able to. Otherwise, you don't get anything else done. Everything just stops. So you're just paying your loan part, but you're not getting any of the other infrastructure done that needs to be done. So again, yes, fiscally responsible increases, I think that's what I would look for.
I guess it's been about maybe 20 years ago when the new county detention center was going up for bond. There was a lot of concern back then they weren't going to get the bond passed. And I got to sit in with a group that was discussing how they could get that information out to the members in the county to get support behind the bond. Folks were afraid that they were going to build too big a facility. Some folks were afraid they weren't going to build up enough of a facility. And they were facing lawsuit after lawsuit for the current conditions. Am I reporting it correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So when I went and sat down with them, I listened to what they wanted to do. I talked with them about it. You know, I said, guys, tell the public this. You're going to spend no less than what's required and no more than what's prudent. You build the facility for the size you need right now, that's not prudent. You know things are going to change. You know you're going to have an increase in your census. But you can't afford to spend $1 less than what's required. That's my outlook toward the city and its budget. Do we need to take opportunities when they present themselves and they make sense for what we're trying to achieve? Yes, and it's our obligation as a city council then to come to you and say, do you see the same thing we see? Do you have the same vision we have? Are you willing to support that if we have to raise something? That's our obligation to you. My perspective is, no less than required. We'll meet our bills. We'll make sure people have the things they need, but not more than what's prudent.
I'm going to take a minute and read this. Steve-O is not here today because his father took a turn for the worse and he's in the hospital down in Salt Lake City, so he sent me this and asked me to read it. It says, I apologize for being unable to attend tonight's political forum, graciously hosted by the Mountain Home Stadium Center. Well, I was absolutely looking forward to standing up here alongside my fellow candidates tonight. A family emergency over the last week has required me to first travel to Nevada and then to Utah, seeking medical care for my father. His situation is improving and I hope to be back in town within the next week. Thank you for understanding. There's also a question for him here that he's not going to be able to answer. So, does anybody want to know what the question is? You stated in your last forum that you have not attended many meetings due to business. How will you be able to attend in person if elected?
We'll make sure he gets that question so he can answer it on his own forum page.
All right. This one's for McCarthy. During your time in the advisory committee, members repeatedly or reportedly resigned city council concerns with your conduct. What do you have to say about this?
So, thank you for the question. Sounds like regards to DIFAC. I think that probably, I will say, is an interesting question, especially since during our time, when you look at the voting record and everything like that, we are all in agreement. It's all public record and everything. As for the resignations, I will say that came after the city council did not meet with us during our joint scheduled meeting, and also after we tried to call our own meeting, even though that the city told us that we could not have that. So, as regard to the conduct, I have nothing on that because, again, none of the other committee members had expressed that to me. And when we were working together, it was a joint effort, and that is all in public record regarding our voting and the recommendations and everything that we had been sending up to city council. So, thank you.
Another one for Brendan. Mr. McCarthy, why do you support using city impact fees to pave a county road and install a stoplight at Smith Road and Highway 51, where there are pressing needs within the city itself?
Great question. So I was hoping to come back to this actually, since this was brought up. The reason that I had been looking into that is that we were not trying to pay for the impact on that. We were trying to make sure that we are making growth pay for its impact on that intersection, so that when we come into the annexation and the city's coming into it, we are not coming back to you, the taxpayer, or someone, another entity like ITD, Idaho Transportation Department, which is your tax dollars. So there are ways for us to go about with bringing Smith Road. Please, I'm sure you all have been out on that road, drive out to that intersection and see how narrow it is. There's no lights or anything like that, and development is not paying for their impact on that intersection. It is going to come back on you because, again, City Council did not come to the meeting and discuss with us about these recommendations and these concerns regarding infrastructure when it comes to related to growth, not just efficiencies. So, thank you.
Okay, Decker Sanders, it's your turn. Mr. Sanders, much of the campaign focus on public messaging has centered on the golf course. How many of your supporters and donors are golfers? Since the golf course services a relatively small portion of the community, how would you address concerns that your priorities might favor a specific group rather than the broader needs of the citizens?
The golf course was just low-hanging fruit. I'm a golfer, as are probably about, maybe a little less than 300 folks here in Mountain Home. They come from every walk of life. And that's where I got my start, to be honest. That's what got me involved with city government. When I would attend their meetings and watch folks come to them and express their concerns and were out of hand, basically disregarded, and the city moved in a different direction. But let me make one thing clear. In 1978, at the age of 22, I stood up, raised my right hand, and swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I did the same thing 4 more times in my 20-year career. I do not take oaths lightly. After the rhetoric, after the hoopla, after the signage, after the forums, after the vote, after the tabulation, it's time to take another oath for those city council members. And I will tell you, that oath is to cover everything, to support the people, to defend the Constitution of the U.S. and the state, and the ordinances and the rules of the city. If you elect me, I represent you, and I will represent all of you. Thank you.
I have one more for Brendan McCarthy. You say you want Mountain Home to stay small, which is why you moved from Boise, yet you complain the city's poor infrastructure is keeping big businesses away. What do you want to, what do you really want?
So yes, it's a great question. So I'd like to dissect that a little bit when I say, of course, we want to keep Mountain Home small, and the characteristics of what Mountain Home is, right? That's something that I believe in. That's why I'm living here in that. For the question is infrastructure. Well, how are we going to pay for it? It's either you're going to bring industry. It doesn't have to be huge, big industry. You have to bring industry in here to help with the tax base that's going to pay for these projects, these maintenance projects and that. Because again, if it's not, it's going to either continue to decay and crumble, or we're going to have to come back to the taxpayer. I mean, that's the honest truth. And it's one of those of how are we going to do this? We can have managed growth to help with these issues on infrastructure and that, and still keep Mountain Home small and the characters and values that we all appreciate and love here in Mountain Home. So, thank you.
Okay, the next one is for all of you. Sawyer first. At Hamilton Hamilton and some road. What is your, over by Hamilton, what is your response to if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything? What will you stand for?
Alexander Hamilton, there you go. All right, well, I could probably sing every single song from the musical for all of you, but I will not put you through that hell. I think that that is absolutely true. I think that that is exactly why I very clearly lined out that I stand on communication and clear communication. I stand on conservation, and I stand on collaboration. And if you listen to things that some of the candidates have been saying, I think you'll hear the exact same thing. I think you'll hear about conserving mountain home values. I think you'll hear about communicating with ITD and other state agencies. And I think you'll hear about collaborating with members of the community. So this is very important to me. I love that quote. I bring it up quite frequently, actually. You can ask the people who live with me. And that is why I have very clearly outlined the three main things that I stand for, I will stand for, and I have always stood for. Thank you.
Let me start here, just 1 second. Outside here, there's somebody parked where the Penske truck for this hospital is supposed to park. The hospital's doing their cooking here because they're reconstructing their kitchen. Who's ever has a car out here blocking the, where is it? Right out here?
It's a silver Honda.
Silver Honda. Could you please move it? Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you need me to repeat the question, sir?
No, thank you, though. I think Alexander Hamilton had it right. You've got to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. I stand for public service. Public service to my country, public service to the people of Idaho in department level positions, and I want to serve you. I'm not asking to be an elected public official. I think we have way too many of them right now. My life has been one of public service. That's what I stand for, and I hope to serve you.
Another great question. I think we have really great questions tonight, so thank you. What do I stand for? Well, I will echo the fact that I am a public servant. I have been for 8 years, and I feel a deep sense of duty to give back to the community and representing, and those are the things that I feel that come with transparency, communication, collaboration. All these things mold into what a public servant truly is, and making sure that we are representing you and what you want, but also doing it in a constructive and, I guess I would say, a methodical and planned out method so that we can make sure that Mountain Home thrives. So those are some of the things that I stand for. Thank you.
I have two. Sorry. Go ahead.
Say ditto, and then we go to the next question. I think, public services, I think that's the only job I've ever had. I was a school teacher, so I worked in a public school, taught mathematics. I represented the city of Mountain Home on 4 different terms on city council. I was the public works director. Services that's how things get done. Somebody has to do it. That's one thing too. You have to. My first job that I got out of high school, I worked for the street department as a summer overhire. That's what helped me pay for my college, besides my parents paid for it, so that. But I think that my parents instilled in me and my grandparents instilled in me public service to others. I helped the church. I helped the Basque Association. Anything that's what I look at. Sorry, I get emotional, but it shouldn't. Why that's crazy. But I think that it's important to be able to help other people, and that's what I want to do. People ask me why I'm running again. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, you were one person who was on the council before that listened to people and you were trustworthy, made honest decisions, and listened to what was going on. That's how I feel that I still have it in me. That's why I'm running. I have people ask me in the community to run. So I'm just going to say, people say that, oh, the mayor asked you to run because you're going to be his right-hand man or whatever. No, that's not true at all. I've worked with three other mayors, and I can make my own decisions. And so, you know, sometimes his decisions, I like what he does. Sometimes I don't, and I'll let him know that. And I've always let him know that. So I think that's one thing to have. So that kind of changes the subject a little bit, but that service is it's instilled in me, and that's what I want to keep. I want to give back to my city that I love.
All right, I'm going to try to fake this one. It's for Crenshaw. You have mentioned that there are industries interested in mountain home. What are these industries in Pacific?
Sure, yeah. I'll start by saying one that is particularly notable. Marathon Cheese is moving forward with a $200 million expansion of their facility. So that's going to bring a large number of jobs to our area. That's a very mountain home type facility and industry too, I think. They've been good partners in the past. They had a choice between here and another location in another state, and they chose here. I think they made the right choice. Another thing that we've seen is we have Idaho Power that is expanding on 3 parcels. So that's going to give us energy infrastructure for incoming industry, and also is an industry in and of itself. So I think that Mountain Home has long supported the trades. I think it's in our blood. I think it's what we do. We're a rural community and we're proud of it. And I think that we need to continue to invite those types of industry into our city. I think that they are great partners. They understand our way of life. They understand what we're about, and we understand what they're about. And we're happy to support them. Thank you.
Got one more. It's for all, but I'm really going to butcher this. If anybody knows who wrote this and can understand it, please stand up and help me. There are many known with our city's infrastructure. Example, water, roads, etc. What is your plan to adhere?
Address.
Yeah, something like that. These deficiencies, then there is little money, noisy, whatever. Anybody else want to try to read this?
No,
I think we got it.
They want to cover that. They've hit most of them.
I'm happy to hit it one more time. Okay.
Okay, that was our last question that we have. So I'm going to give 1 minute to any candidate that was asked one question that they'd like to clarify or add to their answer. If you want to add to it, sir, if you want to clarify this one, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, that sounds great. I've heard a lot of talk about grants, how they're big and scary, but what I'll tell you about grants is the money's already there. I work for the Idaho State Department of Parks and Recreation, and our department is responsible for managing the land and water conservation funds. That money's going somewhere, and those taxes have already been paid. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather see them spent here in Mountain Home instead of Boise or Nampa or Meridian or Caldwell. I'd like to see that money benefit our people who paid those taxes already. That money should come back to the community that paid them. Thank you.
Going back to the question asked earlier about whether or not I have a vendetta for the golf course. Current city budget has $59 million listed in it for grants this year. We already know 11.8 and at least $500,000 of it elsewhere are not going to come along. They're not going to be there. Grants are not scary if they're handled properly, if they're planned well, and they're executed and evaluated according to their plan. We rely a great deal on budgets and the hope of receiving grants in our budgets. Our responsibility is to ensure that those services required under Idaho code are available to every citizen in this town. Grants is not the most foundational way to go about it.
Is there another candidate? Okay, we're at the 2-minute closing remarks. I'll start with you. We'll just go around the room like that.
All right. Thank you so much all for coming out. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new ones. Thank you again to the Senior Center for putting on this event. Again, I think for me, what I'm trying to bring to City Council is new experience to try these, tackle these challenges that we all know about, and that in a way that is not going to repeat the same old tired over and over again that we see, and what has caused it just to where we're at in this dilapidated state now. So, with that being said, I think it's one of those that, what is it you all want? And I think we're going to see come November 4th on how we want to move Mountain Home forward. I've been chatting with residents and during door knocking and meet and greets and town halls and that, and I've come to the conclusion we're at a fork in the road here in Mountain Home. And we can continue doing what we've been doing, or we can move on to a different direction where we can go at and combat these challenges that we are facing. So, thank you again for all coming out, and I hope to earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Of course, my thanks to the Senior Citizen Center for sponsoring this, Sheriff for being the MC. I told him earlier when I was in the lobby before we started, I love when the MC carries a sidearm. I can be assured of a fairly civil meeting. One of the things that I want to let you guys know, if you didn't get your questions answered tonight, or if you heard in our discussions something that triggered more questions we didn't get to tonight, I'm opening up a community conversation. I've done 2 of them previously here in town. I'm doing another one on the 22nd. Please come join me at the American Legion. Sit down with me and let's have a conversation. Not a structured forum, but just a group of people living in town want to sit down and talk about what they see, what they like, what they fear, what they want to see going forward. I love those conversations. The questions tonight were extremely informative for me, helping me understand how I can best serve you in the future. I talked a minute ago about what happens after the election's over and an oath gets taken. And what happens the day after that oath gets taken is you start doing the work. You start doing the work of administration. That's not what goes on prior to the election. It's what you have to roll up your sleeves and do after the election's over. I have experience in administration at various levels. I have experience with grant programs. I have a lifetime of service beyond myself. And if you choose to vote me into the City Council, I will serve you. And if not, I can walk away with my head held high because all I did was make the offer and lay the question before each of you. Thank you.
First off, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out today. Thank you for our hosts and our MC tonight. I too was glad that he has a sidearm. I said if any of us go over, I think we'll know pretty quick. Unlike some candidates up here from bigger cities and other areas, I know that there's more than just infrastructure at stake here. We have a lot before us. We have a lot of different ways that we can solve these problems, but I really genuinely believe that we can learn what those problems are and those solutions when we communicate. Some of the things we have at stake that are not infrastructure, I would love to share with you. This is a shirt that I had members of our community sign at this year's Air Force Appreciation Day. And it has just a number of, just a handful of things that make Mountain Home so special. These are the things that you learn when you communicate and you spend time talking to the members of our community. Because yes, we will focus on infrastructure, but we want Mountain Home to be a place where everyone wants to live. I think it already is, but we can take it even further. I'd just like to take a second. I don't know if Steve was watching, but I hope that he's doing well. My thoughts are with him, as I know that the rest of the candidates are as well. A very important thing about this election and every election is that people participate. So that means doing your research on all the candidates, I'm bummed that Steve wasn't here to speak for himself tonight, but I hope that you'll look into all of our candidacies a little bit further. I know I have a website, I know many of the other candidates do as well, but please make the most informed decision you can. Thank you for your time.
I just like everybody else said, thank you to the center for having us here and all you guys coming out tonight. It's kind of sad that there's not more people. This is like when you get to meet and really get to see everybody, and I think it's important. And I have to say that it's hard to put yourself out in front of everybody, and I commend all of you guys. I mean, it's no fun. It's hard. There's not a lot of people that do it. Obviously, there was 6 of us that put our names in for the have to do this. So I think just the one thing I just want to finish with is that yes, I have been in previous councils and I have been here for a while, and I can still bring new ideas to what's going on. I'm not dead. I mean, I see what's going on with what's happening. Yes, I'm retired, but that doesn't mean that life ends because I retired. So it gives me more time to put into what I can do. Because before I was teaching, I was raising my kids, I was doing, I still coach, but I was coach. I had so many different hats on. So I'm looking forward to being able to, represent. Not that I always did, represent the city of Mountain Home. And I love Mountain Home. Obviously, you can tell that. I mean, my family's here. I still have a son's here. So I'd like to get my other family the rest of here too. So that's my goal. But thank you guys for coming out tonight. The biggest thing that you guys can do is it doesn't matter who you vote for. I would be the best one to vote for, but get out and vote. That's how you get things changed. So thank you.
In closing remarks, I'd like to say it's not easy being up in front of people and getting drilled. And I've been there, and I'll be there one more time. But I'd like to ask y'all to give them a round of applause, because this is what it's all about. As they said, I'll echo, please get out and vote November. It's our community, our city. I'm going to vote. Please make sure you get your voice heard. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it. There's coffee and cookies around the corner, and water and stuff for your refreshment. The candidates will remain here for a little bit to meet with you. Any particular question that you'd like to ask them. Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it.